Hello and welcome to the Incredible Hulk podcast. And we are discussing the episode called Metamorphosis from season 3. It co-starred Mackenzie Phillips as Lisa Swan, Catherine Cannon as Jackie Swan, Gary Graham as Greg, James Reynolds as Ken, and Jennifer Holmes as Diane Markham. Of course, starred your regular cast of Bill Bixby as Dr. David Banner, Lou Ferrigno as the Incredible Hulk, and Jack Colvin as that pesky bugger Jack McGee.
And a whole lot of McGee it was.
Well, he was in a couple of scenes, yeah. Directed by Alan J. Levy and teleplay by Craig Buck and story by Frank Dandridge. And joining me for this outing, of course, is my friends here. We have, in no particular order, Sue, Alex, and Graham. How the heck are you all?
Hello.
Hello.
Always a pleasure, Frank. Good to be here, mate.
Now, I have me little notes, but of course, you know, that always never works out. But but they're there in case we, divert completely all over the place, which is quite common on this show, but that's great. So who would like to step in and begin proceedings for Metamorphosis?
Who wants to go for a concert? Because this is how this thing starts out. Eat your heart out, Marilyn Manson, Kiss, or any rock punk group of the time. But is there something more sinister behind the music? Sue, Alex, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit like Kiss, a little bit like Ziggy Stardust, but those lyrics are kind of mean, though.
Well, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting in a way. I mean, I know she is a singer, and I know she was very popular in the 70s and the 80s, never mind her real-life problems with her family and her drug addiction and all that other stuff. She was basically known for her role as the older sister on One Day at a Time, the original show in the 70s. So I guess she's always played sort of oddball characters, very libertine and oddball at the same time. She's good in this. It's just the story is a little weird. Of course, it is kind of sad that she has to be in sort of a Kiss makeup in a way, and then unfortunately, as we go on later in the story, slightly later in the story, some girl gets trampled, and they don't really, figure out if she's paralyzed for life or not. Of course, she does have a problem with it and crashes the car, and that's where David shows up and sort of, with Lisa's help, sort of inserts himself into the roadie band life, I guess.
Well, that was somewhat interesting, that scene, the scene you just touched upon where he crashed the car, because David just showed up out of nowhere, like a hitchhiker out of the American Werewolf in London or something, man. He just popped up, you go, whoa, where'd he come from? So he was obviously on his travels for his past excursions. I just found it quite somewhat funny. He just showed up out of nowhere, because the first 10 minutes of this thing is obviously focused on Lisa, her band, and as Alex alluded to, the eventual trampling of the teenager. So, interesting opening.
Yep. And there's really only the three cast in the beginning. Like, it's just Lisa and her sister and David, and the music, basically the music and her stage persona becomes sort of another whole character in it, and that's fun. And there's lots of sequence and lots of spandex and lots of electricity on the stage.
That was an interesting point, how her sister had this go-to obsession with the whole electricity vibe of the stage show. Of course, it plays a major part later on when you find out the events of the story, and there's a reason why it's there. But I always found it interesting how her persona was bigger and brighter. It's always necessarily better. Not always the case.
Yeah, and like the thing was, the electric stars or whatever they were sort of it was like a capturing of the moment in the Frankenstein, the original movie, when that electricity's crawling up and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, her look with her on-stage persona, like we've alluded to, man, it was kind of like a Kiss / the Bride of Frankenstein look with a combination of, you know, the lyrics, I say, Alice Cooper to even Gene Simmons and Kiss himself. It was really batshit crazy for the late 70s at the time.
Jackie also is Lisa's sister, isn't she?
Yes.
Who's kind of like her manager, I think, as well. Yeah.
Organizer. Yep.
But she does get a bit overpowering, doesn't she? Later on,
yes.
You know, like you said, I got her where she is now. She wouldn't be nothing without me, and all that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So she's a bit overprotective, shall we say?
Yeah.
And thinks she knows best for her sister all the time. She's not too happy about David getting a job, you know.
Well, I don't think at first she was too bothered. It's just when
she sort of gives a funny look, doesn't she, on the camera? You know, before it cuts to the advert, you know,
it's
you think,
as if, hang on, what do you mean this guy's not taking money? What's he looking for here? He helped me save her life, but hang on, he's not wanting money. Well, what's his angle? What's his game? But I think she only really began to really doubt it and get pissed off with it when Greg pointed out, this guy looks a bit iffy here. Don't get me wrong. Greg spent the majority of the episode hyped up on pills.
Oh, he was mostly off his head for 45 minutes.
But the interplay between David and Lisa was like sensitive and slightly sexual and stuff like that, and so that was like an interesting thing. Was like her sister or Greg or anybody could have seen that they were starting to connect, and that was going to interrupt something that was sort of going on anyway.
Well, I will give Jackie kudos on one respect. She really went to town on Jack McGee when he first showed up at the closed set. Man, she really took him to the cleaners. I thought that was really quite good. But that's before she became a complete asshole. So go figure.
Well, I mean,
she marches him out. Yeah, which is quite cool.
Well, I mean, this is the other question as well that, even on IMDb, they're sort of talking about. Of course, it was also Jack McGee reading the stories on the radio. I mean, I'm pretty sure that was his voice. And Lisa wouldn't be a new wave rocker. She's a punk rocker. Because if you think about it, it was a little strange how it was sort of a Jekyll and Hyde type of thing, not only with David, but with her, because, I mean, she's going, I'm going to take you to the depths of hell. Well, that's really good if you're in a concert.
Yeah,
that'll put people in a good mood, but...
but Marilyn Manson says all that shit, too, and it doesn't actually happen. It's just part of the act,
Well, I mean, again, he's a different, he's actually real, sad to say, even though I've heard him in interviews, and he's very intelligent. But again, I mean, this is a fictional character. Now, of course, IMDb says, well, she should have taken responsibility. Well, I mean, again, she can't be responsible for people in the audience if they start stepping on somebody else and they don't realize it. She can take responsibility for some of the lyrics. On the other hand, just because you see a violent movie, that doesn't mean you have permission to be violent also. And that was another thing that was interesting too, is that you also had the two main characters that are women. They got to a point where they were a little arrogant. Well, everything's about me and I'm the best. And I was like, wow, the roadie that drugs David's orange juice not only is he a character actor that's been around forever, but he was also in the Alien Nation TV series about 20 years later.
Oh.
So, that's another interesting sci-fi kind of, connection for the fantastic.
Also, the connection there is that Alien Nation was created by Kenneth Johnson.
Oh, yeah, that too, yeah.
So you've got the whole connection right there, yeah.
Yeah, so not only... Well, the other thing that made it confusing was that the movie was slightly different than the TV show. Of course, they had to make it that way, too. So, yeah, I mean, it was kind of interesting how you sort of had, when Lisa goes and visits the injured girl in the hospital, even though she kind of has a neck brace on or whatever, it's kind of interesting how it sort of has very soft lyrics that she's playing on the cassette.
Well, that's the other side of their music that Jackie won't let her, embrace at that point.
But again, corporate stuff, like we could get onto a huge thing about that, about, corporate control within music and entertainment, where, the money, the bucks are for one thing and you can only do that because that's what makes the money,
Corporate image,
Yeah.
No, I mean, music has always been a little gimmicky, but boy, in the 70s it was very gimmicky. In the 90s it was very gimmicky. I mean, you had a lot of acts or groups. Hopefully they were real groups where, you had other ones that I could mention, but they're also in the 90s, like Milli Vanilli, and then everybody found out that was kind of a scam.
Yeah. No, everybody in Milli Vanilli did. No.
Yeah. So you have the sort of interesting.
In this, Mackenzie Phillips actually did the singing.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, she was a professional singer in real life, wasn't she?
Right.
I think she still is. Yeah.
She was. Well, yeah, she's been on some Disney shows and all that. But anyway, of course, according to IMDb, she didn't write the songs per se. But we have the interesting happenstance that the last song that she plays almost matches or segues well with the Lonely Man theme at the end of the episode. But yeah, I mean, it was. It's a shame that they didn't have more, more research done on that as well. But yeah, I mean, it is an interesting episode. And then, of course, we have Garrett Graham, the actor, I forgot the character's name, the Donnie Marie reference. I said, "Oh boy, you guys are dating it."
His name's Greg in it. Yeah,
Greg. I apologize.
Yeah.
He likes his sunshine pills. But what I did find interesting about that segment, when David gets drugged and he ends up hallucinating, you get the Hulk in freaky 3D and multicolored vision. That must have been some fun segments for Lou to try and film, because there wasn't much Lou in this. You had that Hulk out in the studio on the closed set, and then you had obviously at the end with the electricity. So his role was slightly smaller this time around.
Very good Hulk out though sequence, wasn't it? It's different, and also another clever way of getting them both in the same scene together.
Yeah.
So how can we get the two actors together?
Let's drug one of them.
Let's do a trippy thing and have both of them seeing each other.
And he really was under some psychedelic influence. I mean, Orange Sunshine was so powerful in the.
It was acid, wasn't it?
Even in the 80s, it was the best acid. And then
we should probably know that other drugs are available.
I know, but I was familiar with it, and I experienced with it, and then the fact that he put it in orange juice only strengthened the effects of LSD.
Mm-hmm.
So you had the LSD, and then you had the strengthening effect, the catalytic effect of orange juice. Which makes it stronger. So, of course, you'd end up seeing Mr. Green and Muscly in the middle of that.
Surprisingly, it wasn't orange, but there we go.
Yeah.
What I liked about it was in that sequence was when they sort of switched from one inanimate object to Bill or Lou.
Yeah.
They'd be interacting with it. So Lou would be picking up a mic stand and it would show Banner above him. And he'd sling Banner across the room and it would be a mic stand, because he was thinking it was, and then they flipped it the other way around, with the Hulk, him seeing the Hulk in another way, I just thought it was a nice little touch, So he's wrecking the place thinking he's throwing David round, but he's not, And of course, initially, before he hulks out and he starts tripping, he's shouting out at them in the booth, but of course they got the mic off, they can't hear him.
Yeah. The mic starts waving.
So he's going, Jackie! He can't hear anything.
Can't move his legs, yeah.
Yeah, he can't move his feet, yeah. So anyway, so that's cool. And then, of course, we get McGee coming round to see the aftermath.
Yes, I came to the right place, you cocky shit. Yes, he's back where it all began again, and he's on the right track.
So, I mean, it must have been really rewarding for him to show up at that moment, because Here he had 2 stories in one. Anyway,
Yeah.
annoying guy. This time I was like, could he just, get out? But he just needed a bonk on the head.
That's just McGee. What eventually ends up going down is the teenager ends up paralyzed, and they visit her at the hospital, she hands over some tapes, and she realizes maybe there's a way I can stop this by cutting all ties with this type of music altogether. But she takes it one step further by not only planning her final concert, but her apparent suicide attempt. Interesting, slightly darker take, guys.
Yeah, she was. Well, there was a scene where you see her hitting the bottle quite a bit. She's emptied a bottle of bourbon or something, or whiskey, I believe, drained it, and then David turns up. That's just prior to them going to the hospital, because he was planning on leaving, wasn't she? She said, "Please, could you just come with me? I can't do this on my own. Can you come and accompany me to the hospital to see the girl?"
Yep.
So he agrees. Now, what's really interesting is that girl, the young girl, Diane, I think the name is in it. How forgiving she is. Saying like, I wouldn't have missed this opportunity for the world. Don't blame yourself for what happened. Of course, in a sense, she can't be blamed for what happened. That's the crowd.
Yep.
Are at blame there, I suppose, in a way. Okay, she kind of whips them up into a frenzy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, partly maybe, but they go to the concerts knowing full well what her act's about. It was just a very, very unfortunate incident, really.
That it was. Yep.
Yeah. So they go and see her, and she's really sweet. And
she's from Massachusetts.
Is she?
She was. Yep.
Oh.
Her name is Jennifer Holmes, and she was born in 1955 in Fall River, Massachusetts. And apparently, she might have retired a couple of years ago. She was in Baywatch one episode, Matlock one episode, Who's the Boss, Murder, She Wrote. She was in 2 roles in that in 87. L.A. Law, she was in that cult TV show, Misfits of Science. She was in The Fall Guy, The Love Boat, Tales of the Unexpected, Knight Rider. Oh, she was in a famous one, Kid vs. Car. So apparently, she was in the Dukes of Hazzard, Fame, Newhart. Oh my God! So she's been in a lot of stuff.
Famous one.
Yeah, famous. So famous, Alex. I haven't heard of it, but it doesn't mean that doesn't make it any less valid, of course. But I've not heard of that show you mentioned. But maybe it was more in America than over here.
Yeah, it's a movie based on Knight Rider.
Oh, right, okay.
Oh, all right, okay.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one, Sue. No. But Lisa tells David that tonight will be her last concert. She really wants to get out of this game now.
Yep.
She's racked with guilt, and she's disturbed by the fact that the reaction she gets from the audience, and it could be, as I say, potentially lethal to someone.
Yep. And of course, you think it's just her final show as that persona, but as we stated, it takes a darker turn where she goes to rig the electricity equipment, and it looks as if she's about to say, "Okay, I'm checking out tail end with the character."
Yep, it was a little suicidal there for a split second. No, for a while, and
it was touch and go there. Yeah, she got very close to that because there was like a line there, wasn't there? Like a red light. Don't go across that line. You'll be all right if you don't cross that.
Don't go to the top step in this. In the stage.
Yeah, it's an interesting set. That it's got it's 2 like. So what would you call those? Like 2 big conductors, I suppose, really, aren't they?
Well,
yeah.
It's a huge arc
with the arc in the middle. That's right. Yeah.
And like that's kind of like from the Frankenstein thing, because you don't ever let electricity arc like that without stopping it, because it's just that effect. In terms of. I don't think you could even ever do that. I think that's just. I don't think that's part of something that could even be done. I'm like trying to think. People use arc welders and arcs for other things, and I just, God, no. I just say no.
Yeah, no advice.
I say it's pure fantasy there.
We get to the evening, the crowd are arriving at the venue, and they're all taking their seats, and we get that often used moment, which I still love. I always get such a guilty pleasure from it, where McGee and Banner almost meet.
Yeah.
He's coming around the corner, and McGee's there knocking on the door of Jackie's room to bug her again. He won't let up, will he?
No, he's persistent.
He's told to bugger off twice before, and he's still arriving. So Banner just misses him, ducks behind the corner, waits till he's gone, and then goes. He was going to speak to Lisa, but got sidetracked because the guy said, "Look, come on, you've got to get to the stage and help us out." So he's concerned, but he has to leave. So the big night arrives, and the
concert begins.
The concert begins, and we start seeing her looking at that arc a little bit too,
fondly.
Yes, and McGee's there. McGee's at the front, I believe. At the concert.
Yeah,
so,
he's in the mosh pit.
He's getting down with the kids, mate. McGee's getting
McGee
cool,
in the mosh pit. Yeah.
Yeah. Never thought I'd see that happen. Yeah.
There you go.
McGee's, he's getting a bit cool lately, mate.
That's dedication to one's craft, I'll tell you.
And David is sitting there with that
it looks like a hairdryer. Yeah, like a hairdryer. Yeah.
Or a radar gun for a police officer.
Yeah. But it wasn't a taser, was it? No, I don't think
it was a receiver for the cordless microphone.
Yeah, it was a wireless mic thing on a stage gig.
Yeah. And anyway, he was supposed to not lose sight of her, but apparently when he saw McGee,
he ducked
a little bit, and then in that moment the crowd rushed the stage.
Yeah. We've got David
here's
Underfoot.
Alex.
Yeah.
And then I was also the black guy in the show that was helping in the booth. Apparently, he is another actor that's been working a lot. He's in one of the last American soap operas that they still have. But he's been busy as well. So it's kind of funny that almost all the actors in this story have almost like 20 years of acting experience after this episode, pretty much.
We get to this stage rush, and David's underfoot getting trampled on, and here's your second Hulk out.
Yeah, he gets a stilettos, a couple of stilettos on his hand and stuff. Yeah. And up he pops. Yeah, and the audience think he's part of the act.
Yeah, it's part of the special effects, and it's part of the show, and it's quite funny. And McGee's going, "Hey, no, that's not part of the show." And then the equipment gets chucked around like pancakes.
Yeah, but the first thing is Lisa is at the top step, and she is really, really close to the arcs.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, she gets a helping hand in for the arcs.
Yeah.
Out of dodge of the electricity.
Oh my gosh!
But we do get a few little early CGI visual effects here, because we get Lou holding onto the conductor and shooting lightning bolts from his fingers.
Yep.
Yeah.
He had force lightning, eh?
Yeah. Eat that 4. Yeah. God of Thunder my ass. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
I thought that was really cool, actually. And also, I like the fact that I might be wrong, but I think the bolts were green as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really cool, actually, that bit, and I like that. Yeah, they didn't do stuff like that very often.
What I found interesting about this segment, while the equipment's getting thrown about the air and all the rest of it, and Lisa's standing there watching this transpire, is you get somewhat of an epilogue monologue from her to tie up the whole episode.
Yeah.
With regards to what she attempted and her suicide attempt, and why she's no longer thinking that way, and all that. Yeah. I thought that was quite good. Yeah.
And Mackenzie Phillips really did, do an incredibly delicate and long character arc. It was fun to watch that, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think she did a great job. And I did, as you said, Graham, there, I did like that. That was a bit different, having that monologue over the action.
Yeah.
While the Hulk's in slow-mo wrecking stuff, she's reflecting. I thought that was really good. Next day, after the whole, fiasco.
Yes.
Lisa quits the performance stage for good. Well, it's certainly in a Rock Guys anyway.
Well, in that incarnation, yeah.
Yeah, she's probably going to carry on like being more of a balladeer, maybe. And maybe doing like the Vegas circuit.
Or I mean, she could be like Bowie and switch from Ziggy Stardust to, Let's Dance. Put on your red.
Well,
dance the blues.
Just if Mick Jagger called, don't go dancing in the street. But
be careful, mate. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, so she quits that and she plays one more little ditty, as they say, on piano for David.
One of the road, yeah.
Which, as you say, actually quite sweetly segues into the Lonely Man theme. It almost seems like a segue, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, yeah. Really,
I quite like
nice.
that. That's a nice little touch again.
And it's at this point here we realise that Jackie isn't so much a bitch after all, and she's starting to listen to her sister, which is good news. I guess the fame just got to her as well. Or the pressure. Go figure.
David, as that monologue ends, David, he's off traveling again, none the worse for wear for his first acid trip. And, he wasn't a blithering idiot or nothing. So, he survived it. And I think that the Hulk probably helped him a little bit get over that drug experience. And, it was really well filmed. Like all those drug moments were like really accurate and stuff. And so, yeah.
He went over the rainbow and there was no pot of gold.
And I mean, for a moment there, I thought Jackie was the Wicked Witch of the West.
Wow, there you go. Well, thankfully she went to divine gravity by the end of the situation.
She didn't have a house fall on top of her or anything.
Yeah, that was a sister, but yeah.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. But guys, in conclusion, what would you grade this episode?
Okay, I'll give it a B plus. I mean, they did try to have a lot of, characters there and a lot of, really ups and downs. Although, like I said, some of it is melodramatic, but then again, it's sort of a rock concert. But yeah, I'll give it a B plus.
All right. Well, and I will give it. I'll give it an A. It was, to me, it was really amazing. And it made me want to put on white face paint and put on my sequins. And
you can get arrested for that these days. Yeah.
I asked Frank if I should, and he suggested that since this is audio, that you guys wouldn't see me anyway, so you don't even know if I'm in sequins and white face paint. Well, so there you go.
Well, I mean, you don't even know if I'm in suspenders and that, and
I keep sitting here with a pair of socks on for all, but there we go.
Hope the thermal though, mate. It's rather chilly out.
Yeah. But I was telling you about the sequence anyway. So anyway.
For me, I'll get an A-. A great 45 minutes that goes by in a flash, and I really enjoyed them. Really invested in the story. Top-notch performance from the cast all round.
And I'll give it a B plus. So I'm going to stick with that, which is still a mighty fine score. I did enjoy it. I wouldn't say it was, right up there with the classics, but it was a good story. No. It was a very good story. It was entertaining. There was some good acting in it. There was some good ideas visually, and I like the monologue idea and that. So you're sort of throwing in a few things that they're experimenting with the format, which I like.
Well, this is the opening. This is the premiere of season 3. So this was
indeed, yeah.
So you've your feet are well under the table now, so you've earned the right to experiment with some new things.
And another thing I didn't touch upon, the very opening sequence was intriguing because all it had was a title card saying Metamorphosis before the scenes opened. Usually you get that over the something visual. But it was just this quietness, just this quiet thing with Metamorphosis written. They did something similar like that with the pilot, just having the title up with no sound. I thought that was quite intriguing.
I think that was just to intensify the atmosphere of her music type.
Yeah. So nice little touch there as well. So guys, thank you so much for joining me. I thought this was a nice little one to talk about.
Yeah, it was indeed.
And so thank you, my friends, as always. Graham, Sue and Alex, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep. Pleasure. Thank you very much.
And of course, I hope you enjoyed it also, guys. And we'll be back with another Incredible Hulk very soon indeed. So until then, Sue?
Don't Hulk out. Rah!
How dare you, brother?
Graham, go for it again, mate.
All right. Brother.
Good night. Good night, everyone.